Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. And today I have a nice fun double integral for you guys. So let's get started with it. So we have an integral, let's call it I. And as I said, it's a double integral. So the outside integral is going from negative infinity to infinity. And then the inside integral going from negative infinity to infinity again. And we have e raised to negative x squared times e raised to negative xy times e raised to negative 2y squared, and we have a dx dy here. So first of all, looking at all the e terms over here, let's just use some properties of exponents to club these terms together. So we have the outside integral, the inside integral, and then e raised to negative we can take as a common, x squared plus xy plus 2y squared, and a dx dy. So now what can we do going forward? Because notice there's an xy term. If there wasn't a mixed term like this, we would have while integrating with respect to x, we would have just expelled out the y terms in between the integrals and then just integrated with respect to x. But since we have this combination term, we have to think about something else. Well, if you remember my last video, we calculated the Gaussian integral using polar coordinates, or I like to call it the classical way. And looking at the form of this integrand over here, this is almost Gaussian. It's not exactly Gaussian, but it's very close to being a Gaussian integral. So it would be wise to repeat yesterday's strategy and change to polar coordinates. So I'm going to do that on a fresh page, and I hope you remember how to change to polar coordinates, because if you don't, please check out my last video. I explained every concept of the Jacobian, how dx dy changes to r dr d theta, and then how we can convert from Cartesian coordinates of x and y to polar coordinates of r and theta. I've explained everything properly, so please check that out. So let's go on a fresh page. So we obtained that I is nothing but integral from negative infinity to infinity of the integral from negative infinity to infinity of e raised to negative x squared plus xy plus 2y squared, and a dx dy term here. So now changing to polar coordinates, we know that x equals r times cosine of theta, and theta is the angle subtended with respect to the horizontal plane, and y is nothing but r times sine of theta. So we have I now. Well, since we are covering all of the x-axis and all of the y-axis going from negative infinity to positive infinity, that means we need to cover all of our polar space. So assuming this was our axes for polar coordinates, we would have to cover all of them. So r would have to range from being at a distance 0 from the origin to being at an infinite distance from the origin, and theta would have to make a full circle. So theta will have to go from 0 to 2 pi, and the radius has to be positive, will have to go from 0 to infinity to cover all of our polar axis space. And we have e raised to negative x squared is r squared cosine squared theta, and we have plus r cosine theta times r sine theta is r squared sine theta times cosine theta plus 2r squared sine squared theta. And now dx dy, I hope you remember, dx dy, because of the Jacobian, I explained it in my previous video, becomes r dr d theta. So r dr d theta here. So we have this extra factor of r, let's just simplify everything. We'll have integral from 0 to 2 pi of integral from 0 to infinity of, well, r square is a constant in all these terms, so let's just bring that out. E raised to negative r squared, and we have cosine squared theta plus 2 sine squared theta plus the sine theta and the cosine theta terms multiply with each other, and we have this stray factor r dr d theta. Now the interesting fact is we have an r squared, and the derivative of r squared is 2r, so we have r here as well. So we need 2r, right? So we can multiply and divide by 2. And now we can gladly make a u substitution here. So we'll let u equals r squared, and this only pertains to this inner integral because we've just replaced r, so only the integral with the dr will change as well, not the d theta. So we have du equals 2r dr, and 2r dr is just present over here up front. So we have half of integral from 0 to 2 pi of integral from 0 to infinity of e raised to negative u now instead of r squared, and cosine squared theta plus 2 sine squared theta plus sine theta cosine theta. This is the du, 2r dr is du, and d theta unaffected. Notice that when we make this substitution, upper and lower bounds still remain the same because you can just plug that in. If you let r tend to 0, r square, which is u, will also tend to 0, and same thing for infinity. Now integrating this with respect to u is simple because all of this is just a constant, right? So it's basically e raised to negative u times some constant. So integrating that is easy. We basically, the exponential remains the same, and we have to also divide by the coefficient, which is the constant, like this entire trigonometric jump. So we'll obtain half of integral from 0 to pi of e raised to negative u, and all these terms as it is, cosine squared theta plus 2 sine squared theta plus sine theta cosine theta divided by all these terms, cosine squared theta plus 2 sine squared theta plus sine theta cosine theta. But we have to evaluate this now because it was a definite integral from u equals infinity to u equals 0, and we have the d theta because the outer integral is still, we have to still calculate that later. Okay, so now notice that as u tends to infinity, so this term is just u times some constant, so e raised to negative u times some constant will just decay to 0, right? So at infinity this goes to 0, and at 0 we just have a 1. So at infinity minus integral at 0, and we have a negative sign because the coefficient was negative, that constant. So that negative and this negative for the lower bound will cancel off, and we just have half of integral from 0 to 2 pi, my bad, this is 2 pi, and at u equals 0 the above term is just 1, so we have just 1 over cosine squared theta sine squared theta plus 2 sine squared theta plus sine theta cosine theta, and a d theta, don't forget the d theta. Now noticing the trigonometric square terms, I would like to divide both numerator and denominator by cosine squared theta. So we have half of the integral from 0 to 2 pi of 1 divided by cosine squared theta will just be secant squared theta divided by cosine squared theta divided by cosine squared theta is 1 plus sine squared theta divided by cosine squared theta is 2 tan squared theta, and this sine theta cosine theta will just become sine theta cosine theta divided by cosine squared theta. 1 cosine cancel, just single tan theta, and d theta. Now notice that the derivative of tan or secant squared theta is in the numerator, so it's pretty interesting. Now we are going to have, so well, let's pull out this 2 from the tan squared theta. So we have 1/2 times 1/2 or 1/4 of integral from 0 to 2 pi of secant squared theta d theta divided by tan squared theta plus tan theta by 2 plus a half term here. But there is a slight problem if we try to use our classical u substitution. If we let say another variable, let's take I don't know, w equals tan theta. Fine, we have dw equals secant squared theta d theta on the top, no problem about that. But check at upper and lower bounds. So when theta is 0, w is 0, fair enough. When theta is 2 pi, tan of 2 pi is again 0. But now the problem is, because theta is nothing but inverse tangent of w, so which means that for a value 2 pi we are expecting some output from some input w to produce this 2 pi, but the problem is the range of this goes from negative pi over 2 to positive pi over 2. So the maximum value that the inverse tangent can actually output for a given numeric input w is pi over 2, and the least value it can output is negative pi over 2, because we had to restrict its the domain of the tangent in order for the tangent function to be invertible. So that's a problem. So if it's the maximum value it takes is pi over 2, we can never obtain a theta of 2 pi from the inverse tangent. So, you know, having an integral from 0 to 2 pi and then performing this substitution is kind of problematic. So what we are going to do is we are going to split our 0 to 2 pi into small intervals where, you know, the inverse tangent gives the appropriate value. So, like, you know, you should not exceed the limit of the inverse tangent. So small interval, we need to split 0 to 2 pi into small intervals which do not exceed the range of this inverse tangent, of this inverse tangent function. Otherwise we would run into another problem. So let's go ahead and look at what that might seem like. So to break this up, the interval from 0 to 2 pi, the symmetry of this function, actually, even before the rearrangement of tans, this function basically is going to be very useful, because we have to look at what angular ranges does this integrand is becomes positive, and over what range this integrand becomes negative. So let's first analyze that. Let's forget the integral. Let's first analyze this on a fresh page. So let's first draw this angular space over here. So we have 0 radians then pi over 2, then pi, then 3 pi over 2, and you know, the 0 you can also call 2 pi, just to show the completeness of this. And we have to analyze this function. So 1 over cosine squared theta plus 2 sine squared theta plus sine theta cosine theta in terms of negativity and positivity, where it's negative and where it's positive. So now notice that these square terms are always going to be greater than 0, right? Because a square is always going to be positive. Square of even a negative number is a positive number. I hope you know that fact. So we only need to care about this part, sine theta cosine theta. Sine theta cosine theta, that we actually need to worry about. So now notice that from 0 to pi over 2, all trigonometric functions are positive. From pi over 2 to pi, only the sine family is positive. So basically, sine family includes sine and its inverse, the reciprocal rather, of cosecant. And from pi to 3 pi over 2, the tangent family is positive. So that includes the tangent and the cotangent of a given angle. And from 3 pi over 2 to 2 pi or 0, all the cosine family is positive. So that includes the cosine of an angle and the secant of an angle. So I remember this by add sugar to coffee. So ASTC. Anyways, so we are interested in the product of sine theta cosine theta, when that's positive, when that's negative. So from 0 to pi over 2, all trigonometric functions are positive. So even sine is positive and cosine is positive. So sine theta cosine theta is positive from 0 to pi over 2. But now notice that from pi over 2 to pi, only the sine is positive while the cosine is negative. So their product, the product of a positive and a negative, are going to be negative. And now notice from pi to 3 pi over 2, only the tangent family is positive. So that means that sine theta and cosine theta are both negative, because their tangent is basically their ratio, right? So the ratio of two negative numbers makes a positive number. So that makes sense. So their product is going to be positive, right? Product of two negatives is a positive. So their product is positive. And then now notice that only the cosine is positive from 3 pi over 2 to 2 pi, and sine is negative. So that their product is going to be negative. So what I propose is, now let's talk about integration. So what I propose is, our integral was from 0 to 2 pi. So basically it was a full circle around this thing, right? So what I propose now is, why don't we take the integral from this negative region to this positive region? Because that negative positive region is being repeated if we go in an anti-clockwise fashion. So if we start at 3 pi over 2, which is also, if you measure it in an anti-clockwise sense, it's negative pi over 2 radians. So if you start from negative pi over 2 radians and you end up at pi over 2 radians, you're basically covering a negative, a part where this function entirely is negative, and a part where it's positive, right? And then the same thing over here from negative to positive. So whatever, if you think of integration as accumulating some change over an interval, you accumulate some fixed quantity of change from negative pi over 2 to positive pi over 2. We are going to accumulate the same change over here, because the only thing that is making the function making this function change is this sine theta cosine theta part in terms of negative and positive signs. So in this negative region you're going to have the same function but with a negative sign, and over the positive region you're going to have the same function but with a positive sign. So I'm saying that the integral from negative pi over 2 to pi over 2 is equal to the integral from pi over 2 to 3 pi over 2. It's basically, so integral from 0 to pi over 2 is basically 2 times integral from negative pi over 2 to pi over 2, right? Because you're having two of these same regions of negative positive and negative positive again here. So you basically have to add this, and then to that you add this, and that's when you're going to have a complete full circle of 2 pi, right? But I'm saying that these two are just identical because we have a negative and a positive region in both of them, and over those regions, whatever change that you accumulate while integration, you accumulate the same change over here. So basically 0 to 2 pi, and I'll probably use another color here to highlight that point. So basically 0 to 2 pi of this integrand that we had, d theta obviously, is nothing but 2 times integral from negative pi over 2, this point, this angle, to pi over 2, the top part, the top angle over here, of again the same integrand and d theta. So I'm proposing this angular symmetry over here because, as I just explained, integral from negative pi over 2 to pi over 2 is just equal to integral from pi over 2 to negative pi over 2, in the other half of this complete circle. So integral over 2 pi is basically 2 times integral from negative pi over 2 to pi over 2 over here, because you just have that half repeated over there. You have this thing just being repeated over here. You can check for the order of sign. We started with a negative, ended up in a positive. We started with a negative here. Now when we are going down, and we end up in a positive. So everything makes sense now. We have this angular symmetry set up. So let's completely split our interval from 0 to 2 pi as 2 times interval from negative pi over 2 to pi over 2. Let's go ahead and do that with our integral now. So as I said, our I was half of integral from 0 to 2 pi of 1 over cosine squared theta plus 2 sine squared theta plus sine theta times cosine theta and the d theta term. So I'm saying that first let's write that in that tangent form that we obtained. So the tangent form that we wanted was this, right? 1/4 of secant squared theta and all that. So we just write that 1/4 of integral from 0 to 2 pi of secant squared theta d theta divided by 2 tan squared theta plus tan theta plus 1, but wait, half was here because we took that 2 outside, so yeah, no 2 over here, sorry. So before using any substitution for the tangent, let's split our integral as I said, 0 to 2 pi we can split by angular symmetry into 2 times negative pi over 2 to positive pi over 2. So we have 2 times integral from negative pi over 2 to positive pi over 2 of the secant squared theta d theta divided by tan squared theta plus tan theta over 2 plus half. And now notice the great part that negative pi over 2 and pi over 2 are in range of the inverse tangent function, so it basically the problem that was arising because of 2 pi not being in the range is now being resolved. So that was one of the advantages of using negative pi over 2 and pi over 2, because that's exactly the range of the inverse tangent function. So we're basically we're going to integrate over the entire range of the inverse tangent function. So let's make the substitution. W equals tan theta, so dw is nothing but secant squared theta d theta. That's just the numerator. So we have half now. An integral, when you plug in negative pi over 2 for theta, you have negative infinity, and a positive infinity when you plug in theta equals pi over 2. This is a dw, and we have a w squared plus w by 2 plus a half factor. So now we can just complete the square, nothing great about that. We have half of integral from negative infinity to positive infinity of dw divided by w plus half of this. So half of half is 1/4, but the whole thing square. But because now when you square this, you're gonna obtain w square plus w by 2 plus this additional 1 by 16 term. So you subtract 1 by 16 from this half that you have that was originally there. So half minus 1 over 16, 8 times 2, so 7 by 16, and we can express that under the root of that basically. So we just have a 7 by 16, which for our formula and our convenience, we can write as dw over w plus 1/4 squared plus root 7 by 4, the whole thing squared, because root 7 squared is 7 and 4 squared is 16. So we have that. Now by using the inverse tangent formula for integration, we have half of reciprocal of this, so 4 by square root of 7 times the inverse tangent of this expression w plus 1 by 4 divided by this square root 7 by 4, and evaluated from infinity to negative infinity. Now so I just becomes, we have a 2 over square root of 7 times the inverse tangent of, we can take a common denominator of 4w plus 1 divided by root 7, and integral from evaluated from infinity to negative infinity. So let's evaluate that now. Nothing too extraordinary about that. So we have, as w tends to infinity, 4w plus 1 by root 7 will also tend to infinity, because you can add whatever terms you want and you can divide whatever terms you want from infinity, but infinity is going to remain unaffected because it's a really large number. So we have 2 over square root of 7 outside, and as w tends to infinity, we have inverse tangent of infinity, which is nothing but pi over 2, minus, as w tends to negative infinity, we have a negative infinity outside, so the inverse tangent of negative infinity is negative pi over 2. Now on simplification, this becomes 2 over square root of 7 times, this is nothing but pi over 2 minus plus pi over 2, which finally converts to pi over 2 plus pi over 2 is pi, so 2 pi over square root of 7. So, well, that's a pretty neat answer. Again, the pi just drops in out of nowhere. But that's the answer to our fun double integral. Now to conclude, we had our I equal to the double integral from negative infinity to infinity of the integral from negative infinity to infinity of e raised to negative x squared plus xy plus 2y squared dx dy. We converted everything to polar coordinates, then used some angular symmetry to resolve the problems with the d theta integral. and I hope you understood what I did with the angle there. And then we finally end up with a result of 2 pi over square root of 7, which is really nice, and it's almost a Gaussian integral. Just we have these extra xy and mixed terms like xy and 2y squared here. So it's a pretty neat result given the amount of calculation that we had to perform on this. So that's it for this video, guys. So please like, share and subscribe to my channel. Recommend me to all your friends. I really need to grow as a YouTube creator. I've been doing all of these things independently, and I think this should spread quickly in the community. Anyways, you can follow me on Instagram. I have the username gamma_digamma. I do math art, and I'll probably post some math stuff too. I'm gonna develop that soon. But in the meantime, stay home, stay safe, peace out, have a great day.